Hello and welcome to the Tennessee Informer. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Boy, do I have a show for you tonight. We had more things pop up in the last couple of hours than we really anticipated. So we're going to cover a lot of ground, try to cover it fast, but there is some stuff brewing that you need to know about. Our guest tonight is one of the more conservative and effective legislators in Tennessee General Assembly. He's very focused on the Constitution and has sponsored legislation on a variety of topics, ranging from keeping boys out of girls' sports and bathrooms, which is a shame we have to even worry about that, to keeping China from buying our farmland in Tennessee. Gino Bulso, Representative Gino Bulso from 61st District, is our guest today. He's running for Congress in the 7th District special election. He'll be joining us in just a few minutes, but first, it's time for the Informer Report. A big win for the TFA and GOA, that's Tennessee Firearms Association and Gun Owners of America, and your right to keep and bear arms in Tennessee. On Friday, a 3-judge panel ruled that Tennessee's laws making it a crime to carry a gun with the intent to go armed, as crazy as that sounds, how else would you carry it, as a crime is unconstitutional, as is the law making it a crime to carry a gun in the park. Do we finally have constitutional carry in Tennessee? You can read the details below, and there is a hitch to this. And this came later I found out about it maybe 2 hours ago. Now, I'm going to cover what we need you to do regardless, and then I'm going to tell you the twist of this story. This thing can be appealed, okay? And we need everybody to call the AG and tell him not to continue to use state tax dollars to undermine the rights of citizens of Tennessee. His number is 615-741-3491. That's 615-741-3491. Tell him not to appeal this decision. It's the Hughes versus Lee case. If upheld, it should give us constitutional carry. Now, unfortunately, we kind of got knifed in the back today, and I'm really surprised where it came from. Representative Chris Todd, who we've had on this show, who I've always thought was one of the better guys up there, he encouraged the AG to file an appeal, stating that apparently he thought that because this was a chancery court and that it only would apply to Gibson County instead of applying to the whole state, which is crazy. He's smarter than that. I mean, I've known Chris for a while. He is smarter than that. So I don't know what he was thinking, but that hurts, okay? That definitely sets us back because I'm sure that was orchestrated by some of the reptiles up there in the legislature. And we do have some. Now, to make it clear, our guest tonight is not a reptile, but some of his colleagues are. Anyway, so it's very important that you call the AG, tell him not to appeal this. Also, go to the Tennessee Firearms Association website. You can get more details, not just on the case, but on this situation. Also, normally, just so you know, that normally in this case, when they pass a judgment, each side has 30 days to appeal or ask for adjustments, but it's usually effective, when the decision is made. So you might want to think twice about acting like we have full constitutional carry yet. That really is going to depend on where you're at, okay? So just keep that in mind. We'll let you know how that thing turns out. Defend the Guard. Last session, Representative Rick Eldridge co-sponsored the Defend the Guard bill in the House. But when it came time to vote in committee, he made a motion to send it to summer study, saying more time was needed to decide whether or not Tennessee should continue to sacrifice our citizens in undeclared wars overseas. Now, you remember there's this thing in the Constitution that Congress has to declare war? That is the whole point of the Defend the Guard bill, that we don't send our Guard overseas unless war is declared. Now, when he recommended the summer session after being a co-sponsor of the bill, well, people who support the bill have wondered, okay, when are we going to get this summer session? It's already August. And they were trying to contact him, and no response initially. And that's concerning. Well, it gets worse. It gets all kinds of worse. What has happened is we found out that Representative Eldridge contacted the senior leadership of the Defend the Guard legislation and the senior leadership of the Tennessee National Guard, Now, the Tennessee National Guard, their senior leadership opposed this legislation. And basically, now, he had a meeting scheduled for this coming Thursday. Apparently, this meeting has been scheduled for quite some time. The sponsor was not informed of this meeting until very late in the game and may very well not be able to attend. But if you're supposed to have a summer session, when you do a summer session, you bring in both sides. You let both sides present their witnesses, the pros and the cons. That's the way summer sessions are done. But Rick is meeting with the senior leadership of the Tennessee Guard, and from what I can tell, nobody that supports the bill is there except the sponsor who was invited late and may not be able to make it. And they're going to talk about all the reasons why this is a bad idea, why they don't want to pass Defend the Guard. Remember, Defend the Guard, the whole gist of it is we don't send our National Guard overseas to fight unconstitutional wars. It's unconstitutional if the Congress has not declared it. Okay, if the Congress hasn't said we're at war, we should not be sending our guys overseas. Bottom line, cut and dried. It's not hard to figure out. It's right here in the Constitution. Article 1, Section 8 says it. There's no caveats to that. Now, I want to go over real quick some of the things, and this is their strategy. Now, this will be on our website later, as will an email that we'll reference here in a second. So this is what the senior leadership of the Guard listed out. They've got category, risk, and impacts. And this is why they don't want to pass the Defend the Guard bill. So operational readiness, the category, the risk, restricts federal deployment unless Congress declares war. That's called the Constitution. That's the way it's supposed to be. Impacts, undermines rapid response capability and joint force integration. Well, I'm sorry, rapid response capability and joint force integration still have to be within the bounds of the Constitution. And if you need a bigger regular army, which those wars should be, they still all require the Congress to declare war or something, letters of marque and reprisal. Okay, if you need a bigger regular army, then you need to fight for a bigger regular army. Now, the next category, they listed legal/constitutional, which that right there is backwards. It should be constitutional/legal. And the risk misinterprets Article 1 and Article 2 powers. There's no misinterpretation. Yes, Article 2 says that the president is the commander-in-chief, but the Congress has to declare the war. Okay? That's the way it works. And then impacts, conflicts with federal law, Title 10, Title 32, invites litigation. Well, no, it doesn't conflict. Article 1, Section 8, you got to get Congress to declare war. Federal law does not trump the Constitution. Federal law has to be in accordance with the Constitution. Strategic alignment disrupts DoD force structure and planning. That's the risks they claim. Impacts, weakens Tennessee's role in national defense and global deterrence. Okay, well, Tennessee is not set up for global deterrence. I mean, hey, we could keep our troops on the border. We've got bad guys to the south. We got some bad guys to the north that Canada has allowed to come in. We've never taken our border security serious until recently. So just more garbage. They want to keep the deep state going. And Trump so far seems to be very leery of putting boots on the ground overseas, and that's a good thing. It seems to me like they want to make sure that when Trump is gone, they can just resume operations as normal. And then category funding and resourcing jeopardizes federal funding tied to Title 10 missions. No, it doesn't. Absolutely does not. And then impacts risk millions in training equipment. See, as far as the training goes, you're not going to risk that training. They cannot take one of those titles and punish you because of something under the other title. They can't do that. And then reputation and trust signals unreliability to federal partners. Well, okay, our federal partners are supposed to follow the Constitution. Bottom line, cut and dried. And then impacts damages Tennessee's standing in interagency and national security circles. Once again, all that has to be in accordance with the Constitution. We've got to stop these going to war when we haven't had it declared. Now, another thing, I want to clarify this. They are conflating two different things, and they want to point to California. They want to point to the situation out in California, where you've had these issues with Newsom not supporting and causing problems. There's this whole issue between the feds and California. But the thing is, the Defend the Guard bill has nothing to do with action inside the country. It's all about action outside the country. And the only caveat to that is they're not resisting going outside of the country and training for 2 weeks at a time. Training. They're just saying, look, if you're going to send us into a combat situation outside of the country, Congress has to declare war. So this is pretty low. I mean, it seems like they care more about the money and being able to deploy overseas rather than worried about following the Constitution. You take an oath to the Constitution. You don't take an oath to federal funding. And you shouldn't want to obey unconstitutional orders. Bottom line, this determination to stay in this current mode that we're in and the mode we've been in which has gotten us into a lot of the problems we're in, it reminds me of the song from the 70s, War Pigs. That's what I think of when I hear these guys, oh no, we've got to be able to take part in unconstitutional wars overseas. That's just what it reminds me of, is War Pigs. So this is a serious problem. The 10th Amendment did a really good job of explaining this bill, so I encourage you to go to the 10th Amendment Center and call Representative Eldridge's office. It's 615-741-6877. That's 615-741-6877. And ask him why he's having a private meeting. Now, that's the thing. He can't have a private meeting. He's an elected official. So if he's going to meet with a guard, then he should be meeting with the other side. Because he said this is not a summer study. Matter of fact, we come to know this because there was a member of the guard that got this notification. And he contacted Representative Eldridge about this. And he said, well, no, this is just a meeting with the guard. Well, okay, why are we having a meeting with guard? Why are we meeting to figure out how to murder a bill that he sponsored, that he co-sponsored? So, hey, this is a problem. So his phone needs to ring off the hook, and people need to raise hell about this. This is garbage. This is flat out garbage. Now, one more thing about that. So our General Assembly seems to want to do everything they can to prevent us from our right to keep and bear arms. But no hesitation in wanting to send Tennessee National Guard overseas to crap hole countries, primarily in the Middle East, for people that don't even appreciate it, don't deserve it, and we get what out of it? I mean, I'm sure the defense contractors do pretty well, but this kind of garbage has to stop. Now, another thing I found funny, we tried to get a nullification process bill passed for the last couple of years in Tennessee. We wanted that nullification process bill as a way for our state to nullify unconstitutional federal actions. These guys, the General Assembly, in this issue with the funding, with the Defund the Guard, where they're trying to kill the bill, they're trying to nullify the Constitution. That's what they're trying to do. They want to ignore the part about Congress having to declare war. And that's all I've got on that. But hey, there will be more. I'm going to get the members, Tennessee member of Defend the Guard, and I want to get the national guy back on. We had him on a few months ago. So you'll be hearing more about this. Now, some other Tennessee news. DHS, Department of Homeland Security, or really I think in a lot of ways historically it's been the Department of Homeland Subversion. They're funding Islamists in Tennessee according to a published report by the Middle East Forum. The Department of Homeland Security has grants that were awarded to terror-linked and extremist organizations. Today, according to the study, DHS authorized over $25 million between 2013 and 2023 to radical groups, many with documented links to foreign terrorist organizations. The funding was distributed through 3 DHS spending programs, with the majority originating from the Federal Emergency Management Administration, FEMA, our old buddy FEMA. One of those groups was the Islamic Circle of North America, known as ICNA, Relief, whose director is, and I'm sure I'll murder this name, Iman Rafiq Mahdi of Knoxville, Tennessee. Yes, good old Tennessee. According to the report, the Islamic Circle of North America, Relief, received the largest appropriations totaling $10,346,248 in disaster relief funding, despite its ties to Jamaat al-Islami, a South Asian Islamist movement involved in a 1971 genocide against secular intellectuals in Bangladesh that killed up to 3 million people. Jamaat al-Islami's militant wing, Hizbul Mujahideen, is a U.S. designated terrorist organization. In addition to that, the Islamic Circle of North America was named as one of the Muslim Brotherhood's like-minded organizations of our friends, one of the like-minded organizations within the Muslim Brotherhood Explanatory Memorandum. That's from 1991, when the FBI recognized that they were a problem. Their plan for conquering North America from the inside, which means it's not going to all be bombs and bullets. They plan to do it politically. Learn more at dailyrollcall.com. Tennessee Home to Islamic Terrorist Organizations Part 1 is the title of that article. Can Trump take Chicago? You know, clearing out D.C. is one thing. That's all federal territory. I mean, he's got a free hand there. And even that, there's some limitations that I understand that he can only do what he's doing for up to 30 days. Then after that, he has to get approval from the Congress. But going to other cities, I know that they're hellholes and they need to be dealt with. But we got to think about this. Do we want the next president, who may not be Trump, who won't be Trump, okay, may not even be Trump-esque in the slightest way, might be a Democrat. Do we want troops used in our cities to enforce laws? Now, he can go there and enforce federal law. He can go in there and use them for rounding up illegal immigrations. He can protect federal property, certain other federal things, but it's not the same as D.C. So we're going to be watching that, and we'll talk more about that later. And he did say Chicago is his next target. That's the Informer Report for today. And now to our guest, Representative Gino Bulso from District 61, who is one of the more conservative and effective legislators in the Tennessee General Assembly. He's been serving since 2022. Gino, welcome to the program.
Thank you, David. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
Well, how's it going on the trail?
It's going very well on the trail, and we're meeting a lot of great members of the 7th Congressional District in all 14 counties, from Stewart County and Robertson County and Montgomery County on our north border down to Wayne County on the Alabama border. And we couldn't be more pleased with the response we've been getting to supporters all over the district.
Okay. Well, hey, I know you're an attorney, but and we want to talk about one of the cases that you're currently involved with in a minute. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. As you mentioned a moment ago, Dave, I am an elected representative currently in the Tennessee General Assembly. I represent District 61 here in Williamson County. I'm also a husband. Kathy and I are in our 40th year of marriage now. We've been blessed with 5 children who are now all adults, and we've actually been blessed with 8 grandchildren up to this point, all of whom are ages 8 and under. So it's kind of quite a lively time around our house on the weekends. And as you've also mentioned, I am an attorney. I've been trying primarily constitutional cases and business litigation cases for the last 39 years in Tennessee, state and federal courts, and across the country. I've tried more than 150 cases in the time that I've spent as an attorney here in Middle Tennessee. And that's a little bit about me.
Wow. 150 cases, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's one of the things I enjoy doing. I mean, I was always someone growing up who liked to debate, who was really somewhat captivated by trial work. And for as long as I can remember, I wanted to be a lawyer in court, being able to present evidence and to present arguments to juries. And it's been a great ride so far.
Well, good. So let's talk about some of the legislation that you've sponsored and gotten passed. The
Sure.
first one we have is the Baby Olivia Act. That was House Bill 2435. And tell us about that bill a little bit. That was
Yes,
2024.
Dave, this is probably the bill that I am the most proud of, and I think that's going to have the most impact on future generations. This is a bill that amended our family life curriculum in Tennessee to require that the Meet Baby Olivia video or a similar 3-minute video or computer generated animation that actually demonstrates fetal development from conception through birth. And it's really a beautifully produced video that will show our middle schoolers and our high schoolers that in fact life does begin at conception, and that from the moment of conception on you are dealing with a human being. And having this particular video as part of our family life curriculum, I think, is going to begin to change hearts and minds, because even though we change the law as much as we can, we all know that abortion is still a reality here in Tennessee, unfortunately, and across the country.
Yeah. I think the numbers are actually up since the Dobbs decision, if I heard right.
I think you are correct from all measures that I've seen. And in Tennessee, it's primarily being done with these abortion pills being sent illegally into the state. And the Center for Family Planning has released data that shows that in Tennessee, we have 400 abortions on average each month.
Wow.
From abortion pills being sent into our state by physicians. And that's not even counting the number of abortions that occur from other abortion pill suppliers sending abortion pills into the state. And right now, I've got a bill that it's HB 5. It seeks to stop that practice. And it's already been through the Senate, and it's through all of our House committees except for the final Health Committee. And once it passes that hurdle in January, we're optimistic that's going to be signed into law and is going to be effective at reducing these illegal abortions that are occurring through abortion pills.
Well, I hope so. We'll see how that goes. You know, I don't know how the numbers compare in Tennessee prior to the Dobbs decision, but I wonder if they were that high. It's a shame.
Yeah, prior to Dobbs, we were looking at, on average, 12 to 13,000 abortions per year in Tennessee. It fluctuated, obviously, from year to year. Now it's certainly, I think, by all measures, it's less than that. But that's only because some abortions are actually being taken care of, unfortunately, in Illinois and other states that people flee to abort an unborn child.
Right. And then there's the Laken Riley Act. This was House Bill 1909 from 2024.
Yes, we all know what happened with Laken Riley, the nursing student who was jogging on the campus of the University of Georgia and was brutally murdered by an illegal immigrant. And what we did with the law here in Tennessee was to make sure that no college or university could prohibit a young lady or any other student or adult on campus from having possession of non-lethal weapons such as mace or pepper spray or a stun gun or other electronic control device, which in some states actually have been banned on college campuses. And the Laken Riley Act makes it clear that in Tennessee, those types of arms are perfectly legitimate and cannot be proscribed by our colleges and universities.
Yeah. Oh, you should always have the right to, self-defense, keep and bear arms. And by the way, I meant to ask you this earlier when I was talking about the situation with the court ruling in favor of the TFA, and now we have we have a legislator who apparently has appealed already to the AG, encouraging him to appeal the decision. Where do you stand on that? What do you think should be done? Are you going to encourage the AG to appeal, or are you going to encourage the AG not to appeal?
I don't have any plans to engage with Attorney General Scametti about that particular decision, Dave. It's not something that I've read yet. I know it just came out a few days ago, and obviously we've been busy on the campaign trail for all of those days. I can tell you that Chris Todd is regarded by CPAC as the most conservative representative in our House of Representatives. He's very, very much pro-Second Amendment. And he's got a 93, I believe, lifetime score from CPAC, which is higher than everybody else in the House of Representatives. So I would need to study that issue more carefully before I could comment intelligently on it to you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I understand he's got a good record. I mean, that's why I was so surprised that this happened, that he was the one who has encouraged the AG to appeal. And so anyway, but I just wanted to give you an opportunity to speak to that. And then you had another bill, no biological boys in girls' sports, and that was in 2023?
Yes, we've actually had to, unfortunately, draft and pass a couple of these. This was HB 306, and when I got to the legislature, the General Assembly had already prohibited biological boys from participating in girls' athletics in public schools, but that left the entire scope of our private schools unaffected. And what this bill did was it made sure that any school, public or private, that participates in an athletic activity that is sanctioned by TSSAA has to make sure that biological boys are not allowed to participate in girls' athletics or go into girls' locker rooms or anything of that nature.
Right.
So that was something that obviously we were very proud of.
Absolutely, yeah. So private spaces, showers, changing rooms, all segregated. It's just ridiculous that we have to pass a law to do that. I mean, it's ridiculous.
It is. It's doubly ridiculous when even after having passed those laws, the schools and school boards across the state don't comply with them, which has unfortunately happened here in Williamson County. Because I also, in my first year in the General Assembly, worked with Senator Kerry Roberts to construct a bill that defined the term sex as used in the Tennessee Code to refer only to two sexes, man or woman, male or female, boy or girl. And that was unfortunately a law that was violated by one of our middle schools here in Williamson County in May, where we had the unbelievable circumstance where the principal of that school allowed a biological boy who identifies as a girl to participate in the girls only family life curriculum classes, which are Tennessee's version of sex education classes, which caused 13 girls to be so uncomfortable that they obviously refused to participate with a boy sitting there while they were being instructed on the female reproductive system. That was a clear violation of the law, and after the parents were not able to obtain any satisfaction from the school or from the administration or our school board, they came to me to represent them personally, and we have on their behalf filed a case against the principal and the school system to make sure that that never happens again.
Well, okay, so the law that was passed, I mean, is there not a way, does the state not have power to punish the people that violate these laws, these principals, teachers, whatever? I mean, and how can a school board say, yeah, we're going to do this, even though the state said no? Because, hey, in Tennessee, the counties and the cities, they are created by the state. It's not like the federal situation where the federal government was created by the states. The counties and cities are created and chartered by the states. I don't understand how they can do these things and get by with it. I don't understand how teachers can get by with it. I mean, was there any teeth? What teeth were put into the law initially?
Well, initially, the teeth that were there are very good. I mean, we do have statutes that allow citizens or parents to bring actions for injunctive relief or declaratory relief where their rights or their children's rights are being violated. And as you point out, I mean, you can have the best substantive law in the world, but the question becomes, how do you enforce it? What is the enforcement mechanism? What is the teeth, to use your term, Dave? And typically, laws are enforced either by public means or by private means. In some cases, you've got the Attorney General's office that's involved in enforcing the laws. In some cases, you have private rights of action. In this particular case, the law did allow a private right of action, which is what we're using to vindicate the parents' rights against the principal that violated the law.
Are there no public teeth on this one?
Now, there are public teeth as well. I mean, this is something that could have been prosecuted by the Attorney General's office, but for whatever reason, that actually never came to pass. So
couldn't the local DAs prosecute? I'm sorry. Couldn't the local DAs prosecute?
The local DAs have got jurisdiction in criminal cases. This was not a criminal case, so it's something that would have fallen on the civil side of the Attorney General's jurisdiction, not something the DAs could have been involved with.
Okay. But, here's the thing with it. We mandate that people send their kids to school. And then in this case, that we passed a law that says you can't do this, you can't do that. But in order for that to be upheld, you have to take a private action, which means they have to foot the bill, at least initially. I mean, they may get compensated or paid some of it, but to me, it seems like this should be a state deal. You do this, you're done. You're gone. Your license is pulled. And if you have to take over a school, if you have to do something to make it painful for the people allowing this to happen, that's what you do. I mean, it seems to me like making a private right of action is passing the buck to people who may not have the resources to do anything about it.
I mean, I think you're undoubtedly correct, Dave, because the first line of defense, of course, is the principal of the school. I mean, that is the person who's the chief executive of the school who is charged with responsibility for following the law. Next, you have the superintendent who supervises the principal.
Right.
Above the superintendent, you've got the school board.
Right.
And in this particular case, the parents were failed by all three: the principal at the school superintendent, and the school board. Even though the parents engaged with educators and administrators at all three of those levels, they were not able to obtain satisfaction. And so ultimately, we had to assist them through the private right of action that's available to them.
Yeah. Okay.
It should never have had to come to that, but obviously it did.
Okay. Yeah, I think a state can do better. I mean, I'm glad they have a private right of action, but to me, yeah, that's the wrong answer. That they have to go that route and hope for the best and hope they have the money to do it. Let's get to something that I think all of us are definitely on the same sheet about: banning China from buying farmland. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, that was a bill that was actually sponsored by my good friend Jay Reedy, representative, who has, I'm happy to say, endorsed me in this particular race, and I was a co-sponsor of it. But we had this unfortunate reality going on, not just in Tennessee, but across the country, where representative companies that were controlled by the communist Chinese were buying up farmland, not just in Tennessee, but in other states where it was available. And we went ahead and passed a bill that, one, prohibits any entity that's affiliated with the CCP from buying farmland, and also requiring divestiture, so that to the extent that communist China has gained a foothold in buying farmland here in Tennessee, that now has to be divested. And if it's not, then obviously that's something that we can deal with through the Attorney General's office. Right.
Is China the only country? I mean, I personally don't think any foreign country should be allowed to buy property here. But is China the only country that this applies to?
It is not. I mean, the bill has a broad definition for hostile countries, that obviously include China, but it would include any country, among other things, that's on the terrorist watch list or anyone that has engaged in any type of aggression against the United States. But in general, it seeks to make sure that none of our farmland here in Tennessee can be owned by any foreign hostile power.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good. And I think we probably need to do even more on that regard. We've got just way too many people in this country who have, own property in America and have control of resources that they shouldn't have. Was there anything else you wanted to say? I know we kind of went out of order. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that lawsuit that we talked about?
I'd say nothing in particular, Dave, except that it's necessary because we need to set a precedent, not just in Williamson County, but we need to make sure that administrators in all 147 school districts that we have across the state follow this law, because we are committed to protecting our girls and young ladies in every way, on the athletic field, in restrooms, in locker rooms, in any private spaces. And this, transgender woke ideology that has grown up has simply got to be crushed. Right. And we are going to be taking every opportunity to make sure that we have the right laws on the books and that those laws are properly enforced either by public means or by private means.
Right. Now, on the private case, if you win the case, your side wins the case, is it a judgment against the district or is it a judgment against the individual?
Both.
Both? Okay.
In our particular case, we have defendants on both. And as your viewer just saw, you put up HB 64, which was another bill that we were able to pass earlier this year that once again just has an underlying set of facts that's horrific. We actually, Dave, had a constituent who has a daughter who was a junior in high school who went to a local university for a summer program. It was an overnight month-long program. And what they didn't realize was that the university allowed biological boys who identified as girls to take up residence in the girls' dormitory and use the girls' restrooms and locker rooms. And so we had to bring this bill, HB 64, which now prohibits any college or university, public or private, that has minors involved in an overnight educational facility, segregating residences and restrooms and locker rooms by sex. Because, it's unbelievable that we have to pass all these different laws to address all these different circumstances, but it's everywhere. And this woke ideology that has grown up is something that we have to deal with because, unfortunately, in Tennessee and obviously across the country, we really got rolled on the whole concept of traditional marriage. We had passed an amendment here in Tennessee to our Constitution that specifically defined marriage as between one man and one woman. And then in 2015, we get a woke 5-4 opinion out of the U.S. Supreme Court in the Obergefell versus Hodges case that presumes just to go ahead and strike down constitutional provisions all across the country, saying that all states have to recognize this thing that's called same-sex marriage. And that is a battle that we still need to fight. And just to show how serious we are about transgenderism, we don't have to look any farther than what happened with same-sex marriage, because it basically happened overnight by a woke Supreme Court imposing its own personal view of the Constitution on all of us, which should never have happened, but it did yet again.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a proponent of nullification in those type situations. That's not, and nor has it ever been, an issue for the federal government to decide. I blame our legislature and our governor. Our governor made it, and it was a different governor. It was the other worthless bill that we had as governor. Within an hour and a half, he folded, and the legislature went along with it. We should have said not no, but hell no. And I just feel that way. There's some things you have to draw a line on. And I think we made a mistake. And you know what? Like you said, it was overnight. Everything went to hell overnight after we surrendered on that. And it's going to haunt us until we fix it. And it will haunt us, Dave, because the whole foundation of our country and of our civilization is the family. Absolutely. It's the mother, the child, father, and the child. And when you have the U.S. Supreme Court saying that that's not really the basis of our society anymore, that having
a mother and a father who can actually raise a family that can benefit society is not what marriage is all about.
Yep.
You've just basically destroyed the very foundation of our country.
Yeah.
It's a fight that we have to continue to take on.
And I think it was in this case that a not so conservative Supreme Court justice said states are sovereign entities. Sometimes they have to act like it. I know Justice Roberts said that. Like I say, he's not a superstar by any means. I think it was in relation to that case. But it's true regardless.
Yep.
So
yeah, Chief Justice Roberts was in the minority in that case, for sure.
Yeah. We do have your CPAC score. If you want, we can pull that up. And then we also have your Tennessee report score. So that's your CPAC, 81. Anything you want to, 84 lifetime?
No, I mean, I think you'll find most of the legislators in Tennessee have lifetime CPAC scores in the 80s. As I mentioned earlier, there are, I think, just a few that are in the 90s. Maybe we have 5 that have lifetime CPAC scores in the 90s. And those are folks that have been there for a while, that have a longer track record for the most part. But 84 is just, on par with most of where we are with our senators and representatives under the CPAC scores.
Yeah. And this is Tennessee report card. Of course, Tennessee report card is Tennessee stands, but you 82 and A+ on leadership.
Yeah, and this is probably not quite as indicative because although the scores are similar, this is a much smaller sample of legislation, and it actually takes conservative causes like parental choice and deducts points if you actually support President Trump and his effort to have parental choice across the country. So it's a little bit crazy that you can actually support President Trump and it's something as conservative as parental choice and have points taken away. Yeah. But that's what that particular study did.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, parental choice, I believe in parental choice, but I don't think I think the vouchers were a bad idea. I don't think they were in accordance with our state constitution. I'm just going to tell you, I don't agree with it, and I think it's going to be a hard sell in the rural districts. I understand there was some polling out there that said otherwise, but I think that's a problem. And the other thing is, okay, we still have all these failing schools. It just seems to me like we're throwing more money at a problem and not addressing the issue. That's my opinion. Were there any other? I know there was a couple of others that we wanted to ask you about.
Let me, if I could, Dave, let me just offer a slightly different perspective on that.
Okay.
Because the only provision in our state constitution that addresses education is Article 11, Section 12.
Right.
And there certainly is nothing in the Education Freedom Scholarship Act that violates Article 11, Section 12 of our state constitution, which simply requires the General Assembly to support and maintain a system of free public schools. Right. And our entire funding system in education is a voucher system. It's called the TISA formula. The Tennessee, you know what I'm talking about. Tennessee Improvement Scholarship Act.
Right.
And and so parents, if you've got a child, you have a certain amount of money that is allocated to that child. The state portion now is about $7,300.
Right.
And with those funds, the parents can enroll the child in a local public school, or the parents can enroll the child in a charter school, or the parents can enroll the child in another public school in the same county with those funds, or even enroll a child in a neighboring county. And what the Education Freedom Act did was simply add one more choice to that menu of options. It now allows parents to take the $7,300 and enroll the child in a private school, right. which is what parental choice is all about. So yeah. I don't know that the term voucher is accurate because our entire funding system is a voucher system, and all that the Education Freedom Act did was give parents more choice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to agree to disagree on this one. I'm not going to argue about it, but I will say that from my perspective on it, they could already go to other public schools, right? I mean, this legislation is not what enabled them to already go to other public schools, right? They could already go to other public schools if they wanted to.
Sure. This legislation just did two things. I mean, one, it gave parents an option to send kids to private schools
Right.
because the Education Freedom Act only applies to private schools.
Yeah.
But it also did something that benefits rural counties, which gets unfortunately very little attention. But it actually provides that the enrollment of any public school system is never going to decline. So whatever funding a school is getting on the passage of the act is going to be there for the following year, even if students leave. And there's been occasions in rural school districts where enrollment has gone down. And so the money that has gone to those school districts has gone down. That is now no longer the case. Even if, say, just to pick a rural county,
Stewart
say,
County. We don't have any
Stewart
private
County,
schools.
if well, you don't have any private schools,
Not
but
in
you got
Stewart
public
County.
schools.
We got public schools.
You may not have any
Well, we
private
don't have a
schools
lot
in-
of choices, period. I mean, it's a very small county, and we don't have any private schools that I'm aware of. We do have some homeschoolers, but we don't have any private schools that I'm aware of.
Right. But if in Stewart County you had 15,000 students enrolled in the public schools, and that dropped to 14,000 next year, for example,
Right,
the funding to the school system would not decrease.
right,
It would stay at 15,000. And if next year it goes up to 16,000, then that becomes the base for the TISA funds that would flow to Stewart County. So
right.
there's a benefit there that has nothing to do with the private schools. And the whole concept behind the Education Freedom Act, Dave, is that more private schools will be created. Parents will be incentivized because they now have the funds to go ahead and form more private schools.
Yeah. Anyway, I hear you, and like I say, we'll agree to disagree. It sounds to me like we're paying more money for overall the same product. But anyway, let's get to the 7th district race.
Okay.
So why are you running for Congress?
I'm running principally, I'd say, Dave, to give the government to the people that the founders intended. We have a federal government right now that taxes too much, that spends too much,
Yep.
and that is exercising powers well beyond not just what the founders intended, but what the Constitution actually allows. And as a consequence of what's happened, we're now looking at a $37.2 trillion national debt. And we're looking at a country where it's been normalized
Yep.
for the federal government by itself to take 30% or 35% or 40% of a family's wages,
Yep.
which to me is just ridiculous. And we need to get the government back within the bounds of its constitutional authority. We need to reduce taxing. We need to reduce spending. And what I'm doing is running for Congress so that we can actually lead the charge to get the limited government that our founders intended, and which President Trump, I'm proud to say, is working on, and starting with the Department of Education. So that's principally why I'm running, Dave.
Okay, so we can basically expect you to be the exception to the rule, because most of the guys up there have absolutely, if they have a clue about the Constitution, they don't care about it. But you're going to be the exception, and I believe it, and
Yeah.
I look forward to it. So,
Yeah.
and you've actually answered some of the questions I was going to ask you, because I did, I'm looking over and I'm like, okay, you just told me that, so I don't need to ask you. So do you have some examples in mind of powers that should be returned to the states other than education? Everybody says education. We know that needs to be returned to the states. We know the Department of Education needs to be dissolved. But give us some other areas, some other things that you are going to work towards eliminating.
Sure. Does Kevin have the chart that was up just a second ago?
Yeah,
Federal programs.
the Twister Trillions.
Yeah, the Twister Trillions. Dave, this is what we need to attack. This looks like spaghetti to a lot of folks, but this is actually a visual depiction of all of our federal programs that provide some form of social welfare. And obviously, it's something that you will need a magnifying glass to read. But what you can see clearly is that we're spending over $1 trillion per year on social welfare programs that, frankly, that much of which money is being wasted in the vast bureaucracy that you see before you on this chart. And if you could actually pick it out, there are 13 separate federal cabinet level departments that are involved in dispensing the federal government's largesse. And so you are right. that the Department of Education is just one place to start, but I believe the Department of Education on its own probably has an annual budget of only about, I shouldn't say only, but of $80 billion.
Right,
But
a mere 80 billion.
we need to get into the trillions in cuts before we can actually get to a balanced budget, which is my whole goal in getting up there.
Good. Would you support eliminating the ATF or at least taking the F out of the ATF?
Sure. I mean, obviously, that got started just with the A and the T, with the alcohol and the tobacco, and it was something that was done for revenue purposes under the auspices of the Department of the Treasury. And over time, it's been moved over to the Department of Justice because firearms are involved. But I think that is certainly one federal agency that is no longer necessary. And to the extent that there are roles that need to be performed there, just as with the Department of Education, those can be transferred to other existing federal departments so that we can shrink the size of the federal government, because it is way past time to do this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Any other thoughts on agencies that you would like to get rid of or programs?
Most of what I would be focused on is on that chart.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, that covers 13 different cabinet level departments
okay.
and $1 trillion in social spending.
Yeah, if you can get a half of that, then you've done great.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. All right, so the 7th District includes a lot of soldiers and retirees from Fort Campbell. What are your ideas about what we need to do to improve our military capabilities and the welfare of our troops?
I say two things, Dave. And the first one we just talked about. We need to make sure that our federal government has the resources necessary to defend the country and to pay active duty soldiers and to take care of veterans and their widows and orphans. As a student of the Constitution, you know that the Constitution only gives the federal government the right to spend money on three things. And this is Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1. It can only spend money on defense, the debt, and what's called the general welfare, which was a defined term back in the 18th century. You can read James Madison, in particular Federalist number 45, to look at that. Yep. But we are now at a point where 80% of our federal budget is taken up by these entitlement programs and interest on the debt. Interest on the debt this year is going to be right at $1 trillion, which exceeds our entire defense budget of about $850 billion. So to maintain our military readiness, we need to get the size of the federal government under control. We need to get to a balanced budget. We need to make sure that there are funds there to properly defend the country. And you obviously are aware that we have depleted our own supplies of ammunition with the war in the Ukraine. And so we need to make sure that we are able to defend ourselves, and that's going to be job number one. And second is and also follows is that we need to make sure that our veterans are also properly taken care of. That's one thing that I've been very focused on in the State House. I filed this and passed this bill called the Valor Act, which is increasing the local property tax exemptions that we give to our totally and permanently disabled veterans. And it's been passed in the Senate. It's just waiting to be funded by Governor Lee's next budget. And it has to get through our House Finance, Ways and Means Committee as well. But my secondary goal with regard to veterans in Congress would be to make sure that our veterans, especially those who are disabled, are properly taken care of.
Absolutely. It was reported last week the Trump administration was in the process of having the Muslim Brotherhood and CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, designated as foreign terrorist organizations. What do you know about these organizations, and are you concerned that we still don't understand the Islamic threat 24 years after 9/11?
It certainly is a concern. And once again, it's something that President Trump is on the leading edge of. And I'm going to be delighted to go and support his efforts to label both CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood as foreign terrorist groups, because I think that is entirely what they are. That's the wonderful thing about President Trump. I mean, he sees things as somebody who is not a politician. He sees all the crime in D.C. and says, we're going to do something about this. He sees that we haven't adequately addressed the foreign Islamic threat, and he's doing something about it. So yes, I mean, I'll be by his side, alongside him, supporting him every step of the way.
Yeah, and I'm concerned about the threat here too. I mean, it's not just overseas. There's a threat here as well.
The domestic threat as well, yes.
There is an MOA, Muslims of America compound in Stewart County. I don't know if you knew that or not. What, if anything, do you know about them and their links to foreign entities or terrorist activity?
I know that it's there. I've actually seen some discussion about this on your program before, Dave,
Yep.
which I'm happy to say. But it's something that I'll need to study further to see exactly what links they have to foreign entities and what, if they do have links, can be done to address that.
Okay.
But certainly the safety and security of residents in Stewart County and across Tennessee is going to be of utmost concern.
All righty. Any closing thoughts? Any upcoming events? I mean, I know you got to tell everybody that you're going to be in Stewart County on September 11th at 6 o'clock at our Reagan Day Candidate Forum. But in addition to that, any other upcoming events?
Yes, we've got a good number of them. We have an event tomorrow night, Montgomery County and Cheatham County candidate forum. I think your viewers would love to pay attention to that and to tune in, because you can really tell a lot about the candidates and the distinguishing characteristics of the candidates at these forums. So I would encourage everyone to visit or to view as many of those forums as possible. Then later this week, we also have a Reagan Day dinner in Robertson County on Thursday night where we're going to be. That's something that many of your viewers might want to attend if they can, because the candidates will be there and will be speaking at that event as well. And then we've got the Cheatham County Reagan Day, I believe, on September the 6th,
Okay.
which will be another opportunity for your viewers to interact with candidates and hear and distinguish between them.
Okay. That's if you don't go to the TFA event on September 6th. If you're not going to the TFA event on September 6th, then go to that event.
Well, the TFA event is in the morning in Wilson County, and you can easily get over to Cheatham County by the evening.
Okay. Okay, your website is votegino.com, right?
Yes, votegino.com.
Okay. And any closing thoughts?
My only closing thought, Dave, would be that we're talking about limited government. We're talking about the Constitution. And one thing that I think it's important for your viewers to know when they're looking at the bona fides of the candidates is that I think I was the only legislator that actually passed a 10th Amendment bill any time in the last 20 or 30 years, because the whole reason I ran for the state house to begin with was in order to use the 10th Amendment to vindicate the rights of states whose powers, unfortunately, are being abrogated by the federal government. And I'm proud to say that, my very first bill that I filed and that we passed into law that Governor Lee signed was a bill that gave the Tennessee General Assembly, acting through the Speaker of the House and the Speaker of the Senate, to file a case directly with the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, which you know to be Article 3, Section 2 of the Supreme Court, to vindicate Tennessee's rights to get the government to balance the federal budget. Because, we do need to get a balanced budget amendment if we can, but the 10th Amendment itself was the original balanced budget amendment, because it made sure that it was the states that had the powers that were reserved, that were not specifically delegated to the United States. And it's been the violation of that 10th Amendment that in part has caused the exponential growth in spending and scope and size of the federal government that we've seen over the last 100 years.
Yeah, that and the violation of Article 1, Section 8. But I love that you brought up the 10th Amendment, because to me, that's the amendment that should remove all doubt. But it hasn't. So we got to work on that. But thank you for passing that. Hey, thank you for being with us and for what you do. Good luck on the trail. I look forward to actually meeting you on September 11th at 6 o'clock in Stewart County. I want to thank the audience for taking the time to watch our program tonight. Please be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, as well as the notification bell, so you never miss an episode. We appreciate your support. Thanks again to Jonathan and Mary for their financial support for the month of July and August. We really appreciate it. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe, so please subscribe and listen and share it with your friends. Check out our audio podcast on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and other platforms as well. Sign up for our weekly newsletter at our website, teeninformer.com. Find and follow us on Facebook and X. Look for Dave's Raves, which are 2-minute audio commentaries on current events. We're making some changes to that, and some will be written and posted on the site. On August 28th, Williamson and Maury County GOP are getting together for a mix and mingle with special guest Clean Comic Brad Stein. There will also be a surprise special guest. This includes a spaghetti dinner. This is from 6 to 8 at the UAW Hall, 125 Stephen P. Yokic Parkway, Spring Hill, Tennessee. Go to Maury TNGOP for tickets. The Tennessee Fire Association will have its yearly fundraiser Saturday, September 6th beginning at 9 a.m. at the Bureau Expo Center / the James E. Ward Agricultural Center, 945 East Batter Parkway, Lebanon, Tennessee. Guest speaker is General Michael Flynn. Representative Rose will be there as well. There's going to be vendors galore, an auction, plus lunch. There's been an addition to the lineup. Brett Rogers, author of the book The Goal is to Win, will be there and give a special 1-hour training from 9:30 to 10:30 on effective campaigning. This is the best political training I've ever had. I mean, it's excellent, and I've had some pretty good training. So if you're not independently wealthy and you want to run for office, this is the guy to talk to. Take advantage of this opportunity. Tickets for the TFA event are $100, tables of $6 or $7.50, but you are also going to be closer to the stage. If you wait till the day of, you might be out of luck. Go to tfalac.org for tickets. Get yours now. Like I said, the keynote speaker is General Michael Flynn. This coming Thursday, we have attorney for the Defend Arlington Project, Kirk Lyons, here to fill us in on the latest developments on the Reconciliation Monument and some possible shenanigans in the upcoming NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act. So he'll let us know what to look out for. Next Monday night, September 1st, we will have Stuart Parks of J6 fame and also a candidate in the 7th District special election. We'll talk with him about his experiences in prison and why he's running. Hope you'll join us then. That's it for now. Good night from Paris, Tennessee, that is.